And since I did mention it, let's just get it out of the way. I had a couple different names for this award. I started with the award for loving your own farts, and I was thinking about, how did you get so high up your own butt award? And this one does go to Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, I know that sounds really bad, but let me explain what I mean by that. I created this award because when I was playing Red Dead Redemption 2, the sensation I got most often from it is that this is a game that doesn't really care about being fun. It's not a game that cares about your time. It's not a game that really cares about the player. It cares about what it thinks a video game should be and what it wants to be, and it has no regard for anything else. And that struck me as just kind of being up its own butt quite a ways. Now, a lot of times in that game it works, but when it doesn't, it's really noticeable to me that this is a game that just is it's created by people that are maybe stubborn and have their vision and weren't going to change it no matter what.
And for me, the best example of this is just how long the beginning feels to me.
Yes, I think you're right. I mean, it kind of that like 2 hours in, kind of finally getting out of that first area, it was like, like we are at this game's pace. Maybe things are going to finally open up. But then you go into camp and you have to like walk very slowly. And these are all criticisms that people have heard before.
I think by like the time you get through 50 or 60 hours, it almost feels like the beginning is short.
That's fair. That's yes, good point.
Hey, 2 hours in that experience.
That's right, yeah. But I mean...
Don't let me get started about epilogues.
Actually, Dean, on yesterday's podcast, you were saying like you really like how it tells you... it has a very narrow vision of like where it wants you to be going, and it's telling you a story, and that's what you like about it. And I think a lot of times that does work. But when you are on that very narrow path, and if you get slightly off center and you're on one of those story missions and you want to go maybe look to something that's off to the side, this game doesn't want you to do that. It's not going to let you do that. And most of the time, it's going to cause an automatic failure of the mission if you try to go look at something else out of its narrow path. And that's just...
that's true. Yeah.
And here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with wanting to tell, a specific story in a certain way. It's just, it feels like the way they want to tell their story fights with the open world nature.
But I do detect a couple of sort of misimpressions here. From the interview with Rockstar, the Rob Nelson guy, he did say, that they tried this whole version of the procedural game where everything was emergent, and they found it didn't work. And so they actually did have an open mind about what they were going to try and what they ultimately decided and felt would work. So they trialed and errored sort of more than probably anybody else ever did over 8 years. So I don't think the singular vision argument is correct in that.
Okay, that's what I don't necessarily mean it's a singular vision. It just means that like when they did,
I mean, what they wound up with makes you feel that.
Yeah, like when it came down to make a decision. And they had to say, what is this game going to be? I think they had no problem saying, you know what? Who cares what the players want? We know better. We're doing this. This is what Red Dead Redemption 2 has to be. And I think that's where there is stubbornness and that up your own buttness comes from.
I mean, there is sort of like a simpler way though to get what you want, I think, and that is not to do a mission, right? And so you can execute a mission by, sort of going to the map and clicking on the next yellow indicator, right?
Right.
And then your mission starts. But before that, you have complete freedom of choice to do anything in the world. I mean, you can go anywhere. So it's sort of like they decided that on a mission, you get the mission done, and that's all you can do. But in between missions, you can do anything you want, and that's where we're going to give you emergent play.
Yeah, you're right, for sure. I just think in a lot of those situations, it's still very scripted. I guess it's not like it's just very prescribed. You will be doing certain things, and they will work in a certain way.
And you cannot finish the campaign if you choose not to do a mission. You can skip like parts of it that are hard, but you have to complete your missions.
Right, and I'm not saying that like a prescribed series of things and things working in a very set way is inherently bad. This award's just about sort of getting the impression, that the developer thought it really does know better than anyone else, and kind of seeing how that played out in the game. And, yeah, and that's where I think actually the bulk of my criticism comes from. It just felt like a game where people were very impressed with their own decisions about the way this game was going to be different, and that just ended up with me not liking it, and that's all.
So I had a nitpick too, and this goes to not just Red Dead Redemption 2, but Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and this award is called Ain't No Roach. And this is about the horses in both those games, because I like the horses better in The Witcher 3. And this is a little bit of a joke, because in Witcher 3, Geralt calls every horse you find Roach. No matter what it is, no matter what the horse is, who it is, and where you get it from. It's Roach. But I just felt the horses were more responsive, came to you quicker, and were easier to control in The Witcher 3, which was a role-playing game, than Assassin's Creed and Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah, in Red Dead Redemption 2, this is I think you're touching on another thing that's exactly part of my award, which is they thought, no, horses are going to be their own living creatures in this game. They are going to they're going to have minds of their own, and that means they're going to be frustrating to control sometimes. And you're sort of just kind of guiding them, telling them where to go. And
that's kind of a good thing, right?
No, you know what? It could be. It's interesting, and it could be a good thing. It's just also like I think it comes from that same place where like their motivation here was, who cares what's fun? We're doing what we think is going to make Red Dead Redemption 2 stand out and different, and like this is the way things should be done.
Make it more immersive and feel real instead of fun, right?
Yeah, I get that was their goal. For me, though, what it would do was it would frustrate me. It would cause things to get hung up on geometry in a way that was awkward. And it would take me out of the game. So it was less immersive for me. But yeah, I'm right there with Jason.
I did detect the big difference between the Assassin's Creed horses and then the Red Dead horses too, where Assassin's Creed, if you whistled anywhere, your horse would show up, right? In Red Dead, because they're trying for this realism again, if your horse is too far away, it won't come. Or if, definitely if you're in an area where it's hard for the horse to get, it won't come. But if you left your horse a couple of miles back and it's out of whistle range, then it's not going to come. And that's a real problem sometimes.
The only thing that, you're talking about, which was funny, was you said, I was trying to make it more immersive, like a real horse. I'm just thinking, well, at least it doesn't kick you off and buck you off like every goddamn horse I've ever ridden.
Yeah. And the worst,
My butt didn't hurt.
I mean, to me, the absolute worst thing was the lack of fast travel. Right. And so you could fast travel in Red Dead by getting on a train and riding it to another train station. But you left your horse behind. You can't take your horse on the train. And so when you show up at the new place, you have to get a new horse. It's like, that is totally crazy.
Does the train ride go in real time? Is there a way to skip the train ride?
No, the train ride, I think, I didn't really do it because of that reason. I didn't
because I remember like I would get on trains to rob them, and I would whistle for my horse, and my horse, I think what it is, if you have a good enough relationship with your horse, the horse will follow alongside the train. Because I remember getting my horse to do that a bunch. This isn't a Red Dead tips and tricks podcast, so we can move on from this, but yeah, I remember that. But yes, the overall point there is just like they have some real strong ideas about immersion, and for me it didn't always work because people are different and are going to have a different idea of like what immersion should feel like. So the deeper you go down that your own singular idea of what immersion feels like, the more people you're going to turn off, or the people you turn off are going to be turned off very resoundingly. Like I was just really repelled by a lot of these the aspects of this game for that reason.